exactly on time. I figured eventually, after 85 episodes, if I keep pushing the time back, we will eventually find a time that works.
You know why it
So
worked.
let's hope that it works next week, too.
You know why it worked this week.
Why? Because I didn't tell you that we were pushing it back.
You didn't tell me that we were pushing it back. So I told everyone on my Facebook that it was 11 a.m.
Okay, well, I actually posted it for 11:15, so.
Well, hopefully they noticed the change and they haven't been sitting here waiting for 15 minutes. Okay, that's what happened. It was on. So we're not live yet on Instagram.
On Instagram. We are live on YouTube.
Something changed. Okay, now.
Guys, this iced coffee is freaking amazing.
And this hot coffee is amazing.
This is so good.
Cheers. Hello, fam on Instagram. All right. We just went live.
What's up, everybody? What's up, Juliana? Okay, we are going to talk about some good stuff today. But before we do, as a reminder, engage, ask questions, and hang out for the whole thing. We'll try not to go for 2 hours today. And ask questions, and you could win a bag of keto brains. Not guaranteed to give one away every week, but we like to give them away as much as possible. So,
especially when there's good engagement.
Especially when there's good engagement. Any announcements or things before we jump right in? We haven't gotten too much feedback about our potential challenge for New Year's.
Idea.
So if you're interested in doing a challenge, a 12-week challenge in January, let us know. If we get enough feedback, it's something that we'll actually put some effort into doing. But we don't want to spend a lot of time planning something if it's not something you guys are interested in. So we need the feedback. We want to know. We probably need, in order for us to do something, 10, 15 people.
Yeah.
At least.
I'd say.
If we only have a handful, it's kind of not worth it. So if you're interested in doing a 12-week nutrition challenge, lifestyle challenge, the idea is we're going to go lion diet-ish in January, do something a little less restrictive in February, and then more maybe keto
I would go
focused or low carb.
Carnivore, keto.
Okay, something like that.
Yeah.
In March, January, February, March, right? That's how the months go.
That's how the months go.
And yeah, so to kind of see, because we want to help everyone, guys, really walk through finding what combination, where on the spectrum you are as far as what works for you, results wise, but also what is sustainable, what fits in your lifestyle, because all of these factors matter. Yep. There is no one hard and fast.
This is the best way to do it.
There may be, and we'll talk about this a little bit today. This is kind of in that discussion. There may be a mathematical equation of scientific proportions of nutrition that is absolute the best and most optimal for human performance and metabolic function.
But whether or not that's optimal for you
doesn't mean your lifestyle, your preferences, your relationship with food, whatever your financial situation, whatever it may be, that doesn't mean you can meet that 100% of the time or that you're even able to get there. We're not there. We have individual preferences that keep us from being 100% in the very center of the target all of the time.
But also, as we're going to talk about today, it's a moving target.
It is a moving
most optimal for human performance?
Correct. Because it depends on you and there's so many other factors.
Nobody can tell you for a fact this particular thing is optimal for human performance for all people.
Ooh.
Period.
What?
So the only absolute is that there are no absolutes.
Very much. Very good. Yeah. Yeah. This is the most classic conversation that we have as a coach. And anybody who's been coaching for a while will tell you, and this is, I don't know how many times this has been said over and over and over the years, if the answer is anything other than it depends, it's the wrong answer.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right? Because everybody's situation is different. Mm-hmm. The concepts behind why certain things work and the evidence of seeing if I do this consistently, this is the result I have, is where we should be focused. Mm-hmm. And that is what our discussion about is today. We have, what was that?
I don't know that. I got to look at that username, but It's a moving target? What? That's not
Right?
fair.
It's a moving target. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carl's Keto Dogs. What? It's a moving target? That's not fair. Yes, it's a moving target. But that doesn't mean you have to completely change everything every time something's changing, right? There's tweaks and there's things you can do along the way. But let's talk about the problem. You want to talk about the problem?
The problem.
The problem. I think I have notes.
You have lots of notes.
I have lots of notes, and I put them on the tablet today. So
first, what did we title this episode?
We titled this episode "The Science-Based Lie." Why did we title it that? You want to get into that at all?
Well, first of all, you hear two terms thrown around, usually interchangeably, very much so by the scientists or researchers, or, some of them actually are scientists and researchers. Some of them call themselves that.
Can I interrupt you and talk about that? Because that bugs me. How can I do this without getting too much on it? Finish your thing, and then we'll talk about that.
First, let me just state the terms that you hear a lot.
Yeah.
Evidence-based. You hear that used interchangeably with science-based. They may say one, they may say the other. But what they mean is that what the literature shows is what the scientific literature shows to date is what they're stating is evidence-based.
Right.
And so they will say that that's, everything should be, there's a lot of people out there who are evidence-based or science-based practitioners or
just content creators,
coaches,
right? Program designers, whatever.
And that everything they do is based on science. And if it doesn't have a scientific basis,
right,
then you shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
Which I think is kind of ridiculous.
It's ridiculous in a couple of different ways, which we'll go over, because how do we define science is number one.
And literally every single thing that you do can't be all science-based. You can't create an entire protocol that only has scientific literature.
Because we don't have science on everything. We haven't done research on everything. So that's impossible.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. Before we get into that, I also want to get on the soapbox for a second. Because as a scientist, which is still an identity that I'm...
Shift.
That it's a shift for me, because I have not viewed myself as that. I have viewed myself as a coach who does research. I've viewed myself as a student who does research. But I've shifted because now I am actively doing research to, here's the key, provide information and add to the existing body of scientific knowledge. That is the key. I think that is the key to being a scientist. There is a difference between being a scientist. I would say my focus is ketogenic sports nutrition. So I'm a ketogenic sports nutrition scientist. That is the focus of my research. There are people out there on the internet calling themselves researchers, as if researcher was a job, as if researcher was something that mattered in the sense of science, right? In the applied sciences, or even research science. There is a difference between being a scientist and being a content creator who does research. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of content creators, influencers, who their product of their research is content. The product of their research is not adding to the body of scientific knowledge. They make their living, or the focus of the work that they do, interpreting or rewording other people's science.
Research, yeah, other people's
research. That is not science. I'm sorry. That is rewording. That, if anything, I would say you are a scientific educator.
Interpreter.
You could even say educator. I educate people online about what information is out there and what it could mean for them.
Yep.
That is not the same. Just like as a student, I do a crap ton of research. That doesn't make me a scientist. That doesn't have anything to do with how I'm impacting scientific literature or the body of knowledge. So just be clear, just because somebody is online and says they are a researcher doesn't mean, there's a couple of things. I'm trying to be very careful with how I word things because
Why?
because I want to make sure I'm accurate in what I'm saying. You know me. I'm very critical of myself. Where is I going with this?
Overachievers.
If doing research is great, trying to make yourself sound more credible than you are, I think is dishonest. Right? But there's a lot of that in marketing and social media anyways, but
also that is everywhere in everything, and it always has been.
Right.
Way before social media.
That's true.
What do people do when they go into an interview?
Embellish. It's embellishment,
right?
Right? Yeah, I guess that's
It's the same concept. It's just kind of amplified when you're online because you have to make the case of why would anyone want to listen to you.
Right.
And if you are a content creator and that's what you're doing is driving, you're monetizing a channel, trying to monetize a channel, you have to make yourself sound credible.
Right.
So absolutely, this is where these words like researcher come from.
So all the wordplay comes from. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's my little soapbox. Researchers are not scientists. Basically.
So now I will say that kind of plays into the topic a little bit because I've heard some of the evidence-based, science-based people who are scientists, legit researchers, right? Like all of that.
This is the trap. This is where
tear apart
the
the people that you hear online, like tear apart people that you're talking about because, well, I get it. You know, the intent is not always, it's not malicious. In fact, most of the time it's not malicious.
It's not malicious.
Right?
It's misguided.
So where you and they are coming from the same place, right, is that they don't want people to be misled by content creators who are spouting science and
don't understand the context.
Right.
And here's
like, you know, I have to give an example because, you know, I like to make things real for people. And most people will probably know who I'm talking about when I say this. Because I saw one of these super evidence-based, staunchly evidence-based, science-based people, Dr. Lauren Colenso Simple, post about this and use the example. I think it was her or it was, you know, Phelps or one of them. Anyway, use the term, you know, oh, if they say we are discovering, like they are not we, right? I'm just going to say it because everybody's going to know. Like, it's such a great example. Thomas Lauer has never published a study, has never spent time in the lab, unless he was visiting somebody's lab to do an interview or something, right? He said, I noticed this after I saw that
post. He says it all the time.
I noticed it in his videos. We are starting to discover, or we're like, who is we?
I didn't even think about him. You know, I was thinking about a couple other people.
He's a perfect example.
He's a great example of that. He's not a scientist.
But he also, he's always been upfront about it.
Right.
And usually in his older videos, he always said it at the beginning of the video.
Right.
You know, I'm not a doctor. I'm not this. I'm not that. Like, I'm just sharing information with you. And that's what his whole platform is based on.
Yeah.
He is an educator.
Right.
He doesn't always get it right.
Nobody does.
Because that's the other thing too, right? When you're listening to these people, because I get it, I'm one of you. I am not a researcher. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a PhD student, doctoral student, none of that. I have taken courses that have taught me how to interpret scientific studies. So I guess in that regard, I probably maybe know a little more than the next person on how to look at a study, right? And determine, does this conclusion make sense, right? And this is what you all are looking for when you're listening to people online. You need a middleman, and you want a middleman, because how many of y'all are actually going to sit down and read the entire study and pick it apart?
And if you did, how are you going to know if you're even interpreting it
and do the research to learn how to pick apart a study?
Right.
Like, most people are not going to do so. I get it. You want somebody to explain that to you. The problem is, it's a game of telephone. You talked about this last week.
Yeah.
It's a game of telephone. You've got this person interpreting it for you. If you just take what they say and you don't know where that's coming from, and you don't know if what they're saying is credible or if they're getting it right, then you could end up taking that bad information and trying to apply it. And this is the point of today's discussion, right?
Right. And that's the back and forth. That's the really developing critical thinking skills, developing some ability to apply perspective, ability to discern information,
apply your own
context, right? All of these things come into play. And yeah.
I think the overarching theme that we're getting at today is, what is truly evidence-based, right? When they say it's evidence-based, they're saying it's scientifically based. It's based in some study, some literature, whether it's a review, whether it's a meta-analysis, whether it was one study, that there is some kind of scientific basis for it. And if not, it's not evidence-based, right? What we want to bring across to you today is, what does your experience tell you? Because evidence is not just scientific evidence.
Well, it is. All evidence is scientific.
Okay.
And here's
now confuse everybody.
So here's the thing. And just try to make this as easy to understand as possible. Science is based on what we see with our eyeballs. Anything that you see, a cause and effect, is scientific. If I do this and this is the result, I now have evidence that something about this, you may not know what that something is, right? The idea of gravity was completely unknown to Thomas Newton. He just knew that when an apple separated from a tree, it fell to the ground. Every single time. He saw it happen over and over and over again, right? And then came up with this idea of gravity. And then he was able to do other studies and other research and figure out, how does this thing actually even work, right? So part of the scientific process, science starts with N equals 1.
Anecdotal evidence.
Anecdotal
evidence.
Right?
So when these evidence-based people are saying, don't listen to anecdotes,
they're being anti-scientific.
Literally, there is a type of evidence. Scientific conclusion that is evidence.
The entry to the scientific process is anecdotal evidence.
No study was ever conducted if there wasn't something observed first.
Bingo.
Out of anecdote.
Bingo. Right, so your experience is scientific.
If it's grounded in reality and not emotions.
Well, there is that.
Feelings are not facts. So if you feel like something happened when you did this, and you don't have when you were talking about cause and effect,
you've got to have a connection.
We said something last week. We said it cannot be N equals 1 if you're not collecting data. Because if it's all based on your feelings and emotions about something, I feel like when I eat carbs before I work out, I have a better workout.
Yep. Yes, there has to be something that you can go back to say, here's the thing that I did, here's what happened when I did it, whatever level that is. And then we get collections of those, and they build to where we have things like thousands of people saying, hey, I'm noticing this when I do this. When I stop eating carbs, everything feels better. I have less brain fog. And then somebody goes, I wonder if carbs are doing something to the brain. And then someone goes, well, let's do the next level. Let's do a clinical evaluation, a clinical study. And that's where we then get into doctors' offices and nutrition coaches and fitness coaches
This is where case studies come
This is where
from.
case studies are technically kind of more on the anecdotal side. So
Okay.
anecdote is N=1, individual, surveys, epidemiological,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
case studies. That's where, what's happening out there when people do these things. From there, we go to the next level, which is the clinical evidence. We get people in gyms who are collecting data. We get doctors who are collecting data. We get nutritionists or health coaches who are doing things with clients where they had data to show when this person came to me, they had this thing going on. We gave them this intervention or this plan. And then 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years down the road, these are the things that happen. Then we start collecting that stuff. And then we can say, hey, wait a second, there is actually documented trends in a clinical environment, which means it's more controlled. There's less possibility of the information being changed and biased because it's being an actual intervention.
It's not just shared in a survey.
It's not just shared in a survey, right?
Recollecting, right? A lot of those surveys
Right.
are like, what did you eat for these 15
Exactly.
years?
And then we
like,
can-
really?
and
Are
then
we
we-
really going to be able to say this is how I ate for 15 years?
Right, or even 6 months, right? And that's where we then get into structured, where we can do in a clinical environment. So this is clinical or field research where we say, hey, I have this group of clients that are doing this. I'm going to take half of them and do this instead. And then we have a control group and an intervention group. And then we can actually start doing things. That's where we get yes, not only is there a bunch of people out there saying this is happening, but we've now verified that these actions are causing these results in a more controlled way. That is what triggers, we need to know why this is happening. And this is where the trap falls in. This is where the lies start coming into play. Social media, the supplement industry, the business of health has flipped the script and gotten all of us to think that the understanding the why something is happening is where we should be focusing all of our effort instead of understanding if it's even happening at all. Right? So we get into the mechanisms. Now we get into I need to understand the mechanism of why when I stop eating carbs, does my brain fog go away? Or why when I do this is the result. And we get into the molecular, biological, chemical interactions, right? This is where we get into in vitro, rat testing. We get into all of the different types of things, trying to understand the biology of how these things are working. None of that matters. This is what I talk about all the time. I did this in the talk at our conference a couple years ago. We've gone from not worrying about how to tell time to trying to make our decisions based on how my clock works, right? Instead of trying to understand what does it mean when the hand is on the 1 and the hand is on the 5, right? We've gone into, I need to understand the gears and how the quartz works in my clock and what the power source is to make the hands turn or to show the display. Or is it a quartz clock? Is it a digital? Is it like...
Give them an example. Perfect example of this is mitochondria.
It's a huge buzzword. It doesn't mean shit.
It's such a good example
Guys, stop with the whole mitochondrial efficiency thing. You don't need to do anything to enhance your mitochondria. You need to stop eating shit and start working out. Period.
And cortisol is another good example.
Cortisol is a great example.
These are things where they've become buzzwords because people are always talking about the mechanisms that of mitochondrial health, of what's happening in the cell, of cortisol and when cortisol and how cortisol, interplays with your other hormones and whatnot, right? Yeah. And now it drives me crazy that people just use these to describe their lives. You don't know what your mitochondria are doing at any moment. You don't know what your cortisol is doing at any moment. It's not the mechanism that's driving anything. It's how you're living that's driving the adaptations in your cells.
And that's just how we understand what the body is doing in response to whatever we're doing in our life. And you're focusing on how your body is working on the inside and not thinking about what that means on the outside. And that's a much bigger picture.
It's the whole concept of missing the forest for the trees, right?
There we go. It's the
majoring in the minors.
Splinter in the eye, and not the
log.
The splinter in your part in the somebody else's eye, not the log in your eye.
The biblical
right?
references, and I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you're focusing on this pinpointed mechanism in science, and then now I'm going to make decisions on my health journey based on this tiny thing.
Yeah.
And that tiny thing is not the game changer that's going to change everything.
And here's why.
Because you're being marketed to about it all the time.
Because
I'm getting
you
more
know
ice.
What sells more? Optimize your mitochondria, because mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, and all health-related issues are because of degenerative mitochondrial function. Or, hey, instead of buying this supplement, here's a recommendation. Stop eating shit and start working out more often. I can't sell anything when my advice is common sense.
It's the magic pill formula.
Right? It's the magic pill. I can only sell you something as a product, as a supplement, as a program, if I can tie it back to something that sounds scientifically pivotal in your ability to reach your goal. It's not that complicated.
This was the secret. I figured out the whole secret.
This is not.
How many times have you seen an ad with this one thing will melt belly fat? This one thing.
The top 3 exercises to do whatever. This supplement will, guys.
That's it, because that's what everybody wants. You want it to be true. You want it to be true that your chronic overeating, not sleeping, and not working out is not the reason why you're fat.
Yeah, and
you want to believe that there's something wrong with your mitochondria, and if you can just fix that, that's the whole key. And now you don't have to change your lifestyle. Hate to say it, but that's the truth.
Can I give a good example?
Yeah.
Because this could sound like we're being hypocritical. Because we talk about keto brains all the time. Keto brains is a nootropic. Keto brains does all these great things for the brain. Keto brains helps with energy. Keto brains help with increasing,
Keto brains is delicious.
Keto brains is delicious. That's the main reason we like it. Literally, guys, we love keto brains because it's a healthier option than a lot of the creamers out there. Number 1. Number 2, it tastes amazeballs. And number 3, yes, there are components of it that can be beneficial. We're not doing it because we're trying to optimize any aspect of that stuff. I'm not doing it because I need the keto brains to have good energy and brain function. No, I get that from not eating crap and working out.
And look, there's nothing wrong with taking a supplement to help with things. There's a lot of people who struggle with sleep.
Correct.
Right?
And there are deficiencies and there are things. Get the basics. Foundational shit first.
It's what is your nighttime routine?
Right.
Right? I had a crappy night's sleep last night. I could say it's because I ran out of kill switch.
Right.
Because I did. I ran out of kill switch.
Up till.
But I had the TV on. I was Netflixing until almost midnight. That's why I got a poor sleep last night. I could blame it on not having a supplement.
Yep.
And sure, if I had the kill switch, it might have masked it because I would have gotten better sleep because of the supplements I was using.
Right.
But if I continued to do that, and now that becomes my lifestyle, staying up until midnight or later,
and you're relying
with
on
the
a
TV
supplement
on every night, and then
up.
using a supplement, which how many people are doing that?
Oh, all the time.
You can't figure out why your workouts suck, but you've been relying on a pre-workout for the last 15 years. And now if you don't take the pre-workout before your workout, you have a terrible workout.
Terrible workout. There's a lot of things.
There's so many things. Yeah. There's so many things.
Yeah. Yeah. The more you focus on the mechanisms, the more dependent you are on the solutions to fix that thing, and you're actually making it more complicated to keep going.
It's like we always say, don't shop out the answers.
You see that?
Foundational
shit first. That's a t-shirt, he says. That actually could be something. Do the basics, forget the rest.
You know what you should do? You should have the three little pigs on there.
For what?
Because you have to build a strong foundation or else the whole house is going to fall down.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we see. A lot of people are focusing and trying to get all of these different things, right? Another good one that I love, it drives me absolutely crazy. The whole problem you've had with getting stuck in everything wrong with your journey is because of leptin resistance. Guys, seriously?
That's a perfect example of essentially what you're doing is you're putting the cart before the horse. It's like you're flipping no, leptin resistance is what we understand to be the mechanism of the response. It's the response to the lifestyle.
Correct. Fix the lifestyle issues, and then all of these other things, cortisol, leptin, ghrelin, GLP-1s, what are some other ones? Insulin.
Oh my gosh. It's like every buzzword.
Mitochondrial function.
Everything that's being...
Autophagy, metabolic flexibility.
Everything that's being talked about at Hack Your Health this weekend, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Every talk at Hack Your Health, I guarantee, is talking about some magic pill mechanism.
Yeah, that's why we don't do biohacks, guys. Right? Biohacks are great if you have everything else under control.
Already optimized.
You are
all of the basics.
Like if there are probably things that we could do with biohacks. Now, here's the thing. For us, we also understand what more do we need? Why do I need how optimized do I need to be?
Yep.
At what point does my effort to optimize make my quality of life go the wrong direction?
Overcomplication.
Right.
Yes.
Right, because we could, if we wanted to, we could get an in-home sauna, we could get a red light, we could get grounding pads and a grounding sheet, we could get an ice bath, right? We're going to spend $15,000 on a bunch of shit that half the time we're going to forget to use, or it's going to sit there.
How much time a day now are you taking out of your schedule to do that?
Right, to do all that shit. No, that's ridiculous. Live your freaking lives, people. Just stop doing stuff that's hurting it.
There's so much that you can do that's free.
Free! Come on! Ugh. Yes. Okay. I think we covered the basics. I got all these notes, but let's just go over this part real quick. I want to review the levels of science. So we talked about anecdotal, we talked about applied or clinical research. We talked about mechanistic research. So the difference being applied and clinical is what we do when we're like saying, if I do this, what happens as the result? Mechanistic research is usually what happens in a lab, right? I have a bunch of equipment, whether it's petri dishes and microscopes and chemicals, biological stuff, or even people doing things like I'm testing VO2 max and I'm doing, oxygen intake and they're on a treadmill. Very individual, controlled, try to take care of as many variables as possible. And here's the other thing that people don't realize. The more controlled, ready for this one? The more controlled a study is, the less applicable to real life it is.
This is probably my biggest gripe with science.
Right? So we have all these people saying, if it's not a randomized controlled trial, blah, 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 then it doesn't mean anything.
Blind, placebo controlled.
That doesn't mean anything because you can't replicate that
in real life.
In the gym, in your kitchen. That's not how this works.
Right. We are humans.
It doesn't work that way.
We have intellect, we have emotion, we have psychology, we have all of this part of ourselves. And we've talked about this before.
Life happens.
I don't think we've brought it on here, but we talked about the concept of the inability for humans to do anything fully objectively in our lives. Because we all have life experience. We all have
biases.
Perspective that is different. You cannot take this perspective out. So that's what they have to do that to try to understand mechanisms, right? But at the same time, you would not be able to do that in your life. You're not going to be able to create a placebo control in your own life.
In your own life, there's no such thing.
You just have too much. You have all the information.
Yeah.
Unless you say to your partner, hey, babe, I'm going to take creatine every day, but I want you to give me 2 different powders so I don't know which one is the creatine. Right. Like, how would you even do that? Yeah. To really be able to do it placebo controlled? You couldn't.
I want to feed off of what you just said about the perceptions. There's no way to be 100% objective. And just as a point of note, this is a challenge I'm dealing with in my research right now. Mm-hmm. And I think I just mentioned this to you the other day. Mm-hmm. I'm working on multiple papers, and even in one that isn't research technically, it's a case study. So I'm writing a case study.
Oh, I remember this.
So there's one paper I'm working on that I'm doing a systematic analysis on the effect of carbohydrate supplementation in CrossFit performance. And it's basically done. First draft is done. I have one of my co-authors kind of reviewing it to make sure it makes sense and the data is good and I didn't, do whatever. But I had to go through several revisions because I wrote the first one, got it done. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. All this information, cool. And then I gave it to ChatGPT and I said, ChatGPT, act like you've never seen this paper before. Critically review it as if you were a peer reviewer for the journal that's I'm submitting it to, and provide feedback.
Cool.
And it came back. It was like, hey, these are the strengths of this. And then here's all of the issues that I see if I were reviewing this that I would have questions about. And the number one thing was wording, assumptions, and claims that were inconsistent with the findings because they were biased.
Woo!
My bias towards what I thought the results and the data were showing meant was evident in how I was wording things in the paper.
Wow.
So I had to go back in and say, hey, I have to take that stuff out and make it as objective as possible, right? And I had to go through that like multiple times, right? And that happened even in a case study. I'm doing a case study now. If you guys are familiar with Alex McDonald, he did 5 marathons, 26.2 miles in 5 days without eating food.
Completely fasted.
Okay. Fascinating story. I've got all of his data. I'm writing it up. I'm just kind of going through, hey, current knowledge around performance is you need carbs to do these things. He did it without even eating, no energy, much less adding carbs. This brings into question, is there such a need for carbs as we think there is? Even in just reporting the data, there are some things that I put in there that ChatGPT was like, hey, you made some conclusions that might not exactly have any evidence behind them based on the data you provided. You might want to go clean that up a little bit, right? So it's like, even if I think I know something about what's happening in the literature, if I'm writing something, again, as a scientist, and this is the difference between a scientist, a good scientist in my opinion, and a content creator who researches. Okay. Or even a coach who does research or talks about research. A good scientist does everything possible to be objective about the data because that is the rigor that they are accepting. I can't publish this. I shouldn't publish this if I'm just trying to push my own narrative. Mm-hmm. That is not science. You cannot call yourself a scientist if that's what you're doing. There is no rigor on the internet.
Oh boy.
Anybody can pull up a study and say anything they want to about the study and what it means and what you should do and how it ties to something that they're selling.
You know what?
Because they're not scientists.
But
in that space.
There is another side to that.
What's that?
Those out there who are scientists and have online platforms that are all rigor with no regard for who they're speaking to in the context.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's scary as well.
That's one of the issues that we're talking about.
Because
is
you have
focusing on the
essentially-
mechanisms that don't have any application in
you
real life.
essentially end up with this fear mongering on both sides.
Yeah.
You have the ones who are using fear mongering of the way they're interpreting science to scare you into buying their thing or to clicking and liking their content.
Yep.
And then you have the scientists out there who are like, oh, this study came out showing promise in this thing that could help millions of people. One of the most recent is about HRT for women, and that the black box label is being taken off of estrogen therapies because of, I believe it was, well, there was a lot of bad science actually in the past, but let's not go into all the detail there. But you know, I'm seeing the science-based, evidence-based people out there basically tearing that apart.
Yeah.
And my question then is, how is this supposed to help people? Because and their whole platform is rigor. Their whole platform is,
they're looking at science as a religion, right? They're looking at
and
research
all they want
as
to do is tear down anything that's coming out that may be jumping the gun or that's getting a lot of press, and they're like, wait, let's think about this scientifically. And that bothers me because now you're scaring people off of something that could be good for them. And tell me, where is your evidence to tell me that they shouldn't be doing that? Because that hasn't been proven that way either.
Right.
So it's very...
That's a question too. Anytime somebody says, don't do this because, well, what about doing the other thing?
And they're not even saying that. They're just tearing down the science without telling you anything.
Yeah.
And it's, in my opinion, it's irresponsible because you have a platform. You know that people are watching you. And you're not even then taking one more minute to say, and this is how this applies to you. This is why I'm sharing this.
Right.
And this is how I want you to think about this. They're not even taking that step. It's just, here's the danger of what this study is saying or what these people are saying. Period. Here, do with it what you may. I'm throwing my hands up because I'm not giving you any advice. Talk to your doctor. That's how they end that.
Right.
And it's like, well, what was the actual point of you sharing that? You're creating more confusion, and you're not helping people learn anything based on what you're sharing. You're just infighting with other people.
There's another layer that I'll add to that. I'll add to that, and that is those content creators or influencers who specialize in not specializing when it comes to science. There are many people out there in the exercise science, nutrition space who women's health, they have a video about everything. They have a blog about everything, right? And you know, it's like, I'm focusing on ketogenic sports nutrition. All of my content you're going to see is going to be about ketogenic sports nutrition and the research that I'm actively doing. If you have somebody who is a researcher or a content creator who on Monday, they have a video that talks about insulin response to crackers, and then on Tuesday, they have a video about the central nervous system response to glyphosate, and then on Wednesday, they have something about an enzymatic response to blueberries in menopausal women. I'm just pulling these out of my ass. But that's the range. It's like, what? Here's what's happening, and I'll give you a little insight. They're spending 2 to 4 hours reading a study, using AI to help them analyze that study, creating a script to comment the points through that so that they can then make a video. The level of interpretation and understanding is not what you think it is. Just because they have a lot of content that is science-based, in many cases, doesn't mean they even know how anyone should apply it. They're coming off as being scientific because they're providing scientific information. The rigor of how they're analyzing it, the message of who it applies to, who they're even talking to, and what you should do with it is often lacking. You cannot be an expert on everything. And that is one of the problems that I see in social media is there's so many people who have an account that if the study comes out, they're going to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Part of science is specializing. Right? I can't be an exercise science expert and a sports nutrition expert if I want to be good at either of them. It's just not how it works. So just be wary of that. Be wary of that. Okay. Anything else? Mechanisms are ideas, outcomes are evidence. We talked about that a little bit. We choose therapies, we choose interventions, we make the choices to improve our life based on the outcomes of those choices, not based on an understanding of how those changes work. Right?
Right.
And that's the biggest
And
thing
there's
about this
nothing
whole
wrong
thing.
with wanting to know why. I love it. I love seeking knowledge.
Understanding why something happened
Yeah.
when I did it is great, but all I really need to know is that when I did this, this is what happened.
It's just don't put the why before the how.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so funny because in other things we say put the why first. The why you're doing it, right? Your why. In this case, don't put the why this scientific mechanism works before how do I implement
Yeah.
the change.
Yeah. How do I do this is more important than why did it work?
Yes. Yes.
And you don't need to understand why to know if it worked or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of people live it. That's where I go back to
Yeah.
the clock analogy. A lot of you are spending time trying to understand gear mechanisms and spring tension and how quartz work. Like I said, you're trying to figure. It's like, do you understand how a combustion engine works? Do you understand what happens to the gas when you put it in, and how the cylinders and how the gas, the fuel ignition and the starter and the exhaust? Do you understand how all of that stuff works? Or do you understand when I put gas in my car and I start it up, I can drive it? These are the things that I do, and this is how I
drive my car on empty.
This is how I get to where I'm going, because these are the things I need to do. I don't care how it works.
That's a good,
Right?
yeah, the car is a really good analogy because I don't understand how anything in a car works,
Right.
but I drive it
Every day.
every day.
Right? And that's how some of
Yeah.
you guys are trying to, you got your thick ass book trying to understand all the workings of your car. And because you're spending your time doing that, you're not getting anywhere. Some of you are trying to understand how it works instead of just get in your car and drive, guys.
That part.
Just get in your car and
That's
drive.
the action, right? That's the whole analysis paralysis.
Yeah, because
right.
you could understand how every single thing about your car works. You ready for this one? But if you don't get in your car and take a wrong turn, you won't know that it was the wrong turn.
Yeah, sometimes we learn the right things to do by doing the wrong things.
You got to just go do it. Just go do
Yep,
it.
make it a left.
The best way
when
to
things
learn
go
to-
left and you're like, oh,
Right.
now I know how not to do it.
The best way to learn how to get around your city
Is to get lost.
is to get lost. I used to do that.
Yeah.
Anytime I moved somewhere or visited someplace, I would just drive and be like, I have no idea where I'm going. Just drive around and then you start noticing things. You start noticing, oh, if I go down here, oh, that's where that thing was. I remember that. And like, that's how you learn.
Here's a really good practical example. I don't know how to get started with keto. How many times do you see this question? How do I start on carnivore? Well, what is carnivore? You only eat meat. So whatever else you're eating, stop eating that. And that's how you start. it can be so much simpler than you're making it. You don't have to know every
Macros
single
and
thing
what
about
options
keto.
should I do, and
To know the basic is, well, keto means you lower your carbs. So the first thing I should probably figure out is, what am I eating that's high carb? And start cutting down on those things. I don't even have to cut them all out yet. Just, I know, if you know what a carb is, which some people don't, there are still people, it blows my mind all the time, that don't even know what a macro is,
right.
right? So first thing you probably need to learn is what has carbs in it that you can cut down on in your day-to-day life. Then boom, all of a sudden, now you're keto. Surprise, that wasn't that difficult. Seriously.
Super easy. Yes. Yes.
Right?
Okay. I think we got our point across.
I hope so.
I hope so. We kind of,
We beat that horse.
yeah, we beat that.
It's bloody.
Did y'all get the point? Just do something, okay? And see if it works. If it doesn't work, do something different. You don't need science to make progress.
Yep.
Okay, let's see. Science has to be non-biased without a conflict of interest. Follow the money. There's that. Everything is theory still to this day. Very few things are absolute facts. That's a really good point, Sherry. Sherry makes a good point. Sherry Morgan. I think I was talking to you about this the other day. There's a big misconception
I know where you're going.
about a lot of the information we get that's science-based. I see this in all the research I've been doing lately, particularly. There are many, many, many claims about certain things we should be doing or the effect of certain changes or interventions that are completely pulled out of people's asses. Okay, because they're making claims on physical outcomes based on mechanisms. Okay, here's an example. In one of the papers I'm working on, evaluating the impact of ketogenic diet on CrossFit performance. The current position stands of most organizations, sports nutrition, exercise science organizations, is that in general, ketogenic diets are bad for all performance. Of all of the papers I'm looking at, easily 90% of them are I look at, the title will say keto is bad for endurance performance. And then I look at it, there's no performance data even in the paper. There's no, did they run faster? Did they run longer? How fast did they go? How much power there's no physical performance. They're determining performance, and they're making a claim on physical outcomes of performance based on how their body processes oxygen. Because, and this is one of the paper we just came out with a couple weeks ago. We just published a paper that said, hey guys, you might want to rethink this because this isn't how it works. Because fat adapted athletes use more oxygen, the idea is if you're using more oxygen, you are less metabolically efficient, because based on current standards, the expectation is more work, less oxygen, more efficient. So if there's more oxygen for the same amount of work, you must be inefficient. Not considering that because I'm burning more fat, I'm going to, by definition, use more oxygen, right? So not because they're not including that. So they just look at, oh, oxygen usage went up, so they must be more efficient, so it's worse for performance.
And what you're talking
Without
about
even looking at, did they run faster?
there was no outcome
There was
data.
no outcome data. So a lot of these claims and conclusions are being drawn on things that actually don't apply at all.
Oh, we were talking about this the other day.
Yeah.
Like so many things in medical science as well, right?
This
Everything
mechanism,
is
it's an
being
assumption.
assumed based on perhaps faulty, not even faulty. It's the current understanding, and this is the other key we could talk about, that current understanding does not equal fact.
Oh, God.
But the current understanding based on
A
the
paradigm,
general population.
General population or general recommendations or the general methods that are
But where did
currently
that
in
come
place.
from? From studies done on
Right.
the standard diet.
Right.
right? When we don't have 50-year-old, 100-year-old studies that were done on ketogenic diets and ketogenic population. So we're not understanding how the mechanisms change because we're applying this paradigm of knowledge that was never based on this population, but we're applying that to this population because that's the framework that we're familiar with.
The whole LDL one is another one.
Yes.
You must be unhealthy because your LDL is high.
All the health, medical,
everything.
And performance.
All the markers, all the performance stuff, all of it is different. And so that's another thing to remember about science or evidence-based information is, are they making a claim based off of an assumption of how things should work? Or are they explaining something that they've seen already happen? And there's a big difference there. Anybody that's saying this, you need this because this thing causes this. How do you know this thing is causing that? Right? Is that an assumption, or is it actually, is there a trail that goes from here to here? If there's no trail, then it's an assumption.
You know what's interesting? The whole fact concept versus
fiction.
Well, the fact versus current understanding of the based on the literature, right?
Yeah.
Usually, this can be another good tell of whether or not a person is actually a scientist, because the scientists out there will use the terms based on our current understanding or based on the current literature. But the people arguing in the comments section under videos or under posts will usually say, it's fact, it's been proven.
Or people who are not scientists, who are just researchers making content.
I know who you're thinking about right now.
There's a few actually.
Yeah, they'll say that these things are facts. And no scientist would use that terminology because you know that that's not science.
Right. Here's an example. I just did a video with Max. We talked about stuff. And one of the things I said in the video is, based on what we're seeing right now, it doesn't look like, and there's no benefit to carb supplementation in CrossFit athletes. In the paper that I'm writing, where this information is coming from, I had to be very specific because I was going that direction with it. There's no thing. Looking at all of the data, in some instances there was, in some instances there wasn't. So it's not that there's no benefit specifically, it's that the benefit is not consistent, it's variable, it's likely individualized, it's not across the board. There's no across the board, it's not statistically significant. So one person may have had a better back squat with carbs, another person didn't. One person may have had a better 5K time without carbs and another person didn't. So there's no consistent. But consistently across all of the information that I've seen, there is generally no difference between the two. So the wording and how we approach it, and again, it's based on the data we have. There are only 5 studies that specifically look at carb supplementation in CrossFit. So with only 5 studies, it's really hard to say conclusively that carbs do or don't help. We can say that with the data we currently have, it doesn't seem like there's really that much of a benefit.
And you know what I would be interested in knowing? In those cases where there was benefit, I would be curious if that particular study was placebo-controlled. Because I truly believe, this is just based on my experience as a coach, that placebo is a massive factor when it comes to carbs and performance.
Oh, for sure. Well, because they were all actually inter-study.
Because there's such a deep belief that people hold that carbs improve performance. How do you separate that unless it's placebo-controlled, right? Unless you don't know that what you consumed, whether or not it actually had carbs in it.
This is where it comes into that. We don't need to get into this, but I will because you asked or you said something.
I'm super curious.
All of the variation was within studies. So it wasn't this one study said there was some and this one study said there wasn't. It was within the study.
individuals within
individuals
the
within the study, right? So
Okay.
they would do a workout, like one workout was Fight Gone Bad, which is 5 different exercises, and they do them, and it's like a hit workout. In one, in one group, the carb athletes did more pull-ups. In another group, the non-supplemented athletes did more sit-ups,
Oh, wow.
right? But it's in the same study.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they had similar interventions. One was just more carbs than the other, and there was variation even within that.
Wow.
But across the board, the overall reps were about the same.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So it gets really nuanced when
Yeah.
you're looking at stuff. So
Yeah.
you could say, and you can say, essentially, consistently across the board, there's no difference. There's some areas where it was better, there's some areas where it wasn't, but it doesn't seem like it really makes that much of a difference based on the data we currently have. And if they're not qualifying those types of things,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And that's where my bias was coming in, because I would very much want to say, and looking at the data before looking at the conclusions of the papers, which all the conclusions say no significant change, no significant change. Then I look at that and I go, carbs don't help CrossFit. But then I look at the data and I'm like, it's not that they don't help. It's just that we can't really tell if they
Can't
do.
quantify it.
You can't
Yeah.
really quantify it.
Yeah.
So it's different.
And as a coach who's worked with people in person,
That's really
and
good.
you've done CrossFit
Yep.
in person with countless
Yep.
classes,
Yep.
would you say there's not at least 10 other variables that could change how many reps a person does on
Oh,
one
for sure.
particular
Oh,
workout?
absolutely. But not even that. Here's the other aspect that you just
Okay.
made me think about. This is where the science and the evidence get conflated and get confused, or don't get used the way they should be.
Okay.
As a scientist, I look at that and I can say, we can't really tell based off of the recorded, published data whether carbs are beneficial or not.
Okay.
I, as a coach who has 15 years of experience working with people, I can say what I have seen clinically in the gym with real people consistently over years is that it doesn't. So my personal experience,
Right.
combined with the data that is inconclusive, I have full faith in my statement that from what I have seen, carb supplementation does not help CrossFit performance. And that's where some of the difference comes in. If you have a researcher who's never been a coach, who's looking at data and making claims, and they don't have the experience, right? I went to medical school, I went to get my PhD, blah, blah, blah. I've never coached a single person in my life. I've never had a one-on-one nutrition client in my life. And I'm going to say X, Y, or Z with no clinical experience behind my statements. That's when you really should be kind of questioning where the information's coming from. So, okay. Questions. We got questions for you.
I've got a comment here. Kelly Sue, this is making me think of the fact that, for example, normal thyroid levels are determined off sick people. So we are normal, which is fiction, because the truth is we feel like crap but told normal. Oh boy, there's so many things with thyroid too, like with the fact that it's based on a high carb diet population.
Sure.
That we're being told that when you go keto carnivore, that your T3 levels drop, and that means you have a problem with your thyroid now.
Can we do something on the fly here?
Sure.
What are some of the things that we see, markers or measures, that probably don't apply the same way for a keto adapted person? Thyroid, I think, is one.
Big one, yeah.
I just had another one in my head. LDL is another one.
Yeah.
What do you think? Anybody have any other ideas? I'm trying to think off the top of my
There's
head.
no like hormones that I think it necessarily impacts.
I wonder if there's. I feel like I had a couple in my head as I was
know.
asking the question, and then they just completely disappeared. Definitely thyroid. Definitely.
Well,
LDL.
cortisol, this is a
Calcium or vitamin C is another one.
and there's a misunderstood concept around the cortisol that's being talked about a lot right now that, oh, chronic low carb keeps your keeps your cortisol high.
That's
What's been seen
flat out
is
fact.
that it's
Not-
during the
not a fact.
transition period. So if you're
Right.
if you are fat adapted, it shouldn't be an issue.
There's a transition because it is a stimulus to the body.
You're
It's
literally
a change.
shifting
Right. So
what
then
your body
after
is using for
2
fuel.
to 6 weeks, it goes back to normal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, glucose could be one for
Glucose,
sure. Yeah.
lower glucose
Yep.
in general, lower insulin in general.
Yep.
Again, I was going to say vitamin C, if you're eating a whole foods animal-based nutrition
Yeah, could be.
diet, because vitamin C, if you're eating a lot of carbs, is a requirement if you're not getting a lot of meat. If you're getting a lot of meat and most of your nutrition's coming from
less
meat,
of a
you don't need the
Yeah.
vitamin C as much. And there might be some others. Those are probably the most common ones.
Yeah.
I would say. If you guys have any other ideas of some, let us know. But okay.
All right, what you got?
Uh,
I know I got a question about pole dancing.
yeah, I was going to say that's the one. Yeah.
Somewhere in there, I saw it early on. Let's answer this one first. Thoughts on the medical ketogenic diet? 4-to-1 fat to
Carbs,
protein
protein
combined
while trying to build muscle.
While trying to build muscle.
Well,
I've actually never seen that done.
I'm not sure if 4-to-1.
As a muscle building protocol, I have not seen that.
No.
I've heard of it for like epilepsy and
Right. I mean, medical,
the
therapeutic
levels of ketogenic, nutrition being this like 4-to-1 fat to protein usually because you're already keeping your carbs super low. But I have not heard that anybody's done that in the context of trying to build muscle or collecting data to that.
Yeah.
To that effect.
The closest thing that I would say to somebody that does something similar,
Or
would
maybe
be
she's
Rob.
asking for herself, like our thoughts on the medical keto diet
Right.
while trying to build muscle.
Yeah. I think it's likely going to be challenging.
Yes.
I mean, protein is what you need to build muscle.
Yep.
So you can preserve muscle on a higher fat, lower protein diet, but it's going to be hard to build muscle.
Yes.
In general. So if you have a medical reason, here's another thing. If you have a medical reason to be on a therapeutic ketogenic diet,
then that's probably going to be best
that's probably
for you.
the focus you should have.
Yep.
Anything that you're doing to build muscle would come secondary, but trying to find that balance, I know it can be difficult. Here's the other thing too, is you can be in a high fat ketogenic diet and still increase your protein.
Yes. Yep.
Right. In fact, increasing your protein may make it easier to manage your body composition while you're on a high fat ketogenic diet. So there's not anything necessarily wrong. And this is where we talk about ratios, and we get off of ratios all the time. You don't have to keep your protein low just because your fat is high.
That's the old
calorie thing, ratios.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to gain if my calories are too high, so now I have to drop the protein. Not necessary.
Yeah, you can increase your protein and you'll be fine.
Yeah, ultimately, protein for muscle growth is the goal, is the plan.
Let's see. Mind-blowing on the controlled statement. I think that was when we talked about the more controlled a study is, the less applicable it is.
The less applicable to real life. Absolutely. Yeah, you don't live in a metabolic ward.
Yep. They have keto science stats for nearly 100 years, but it focused on epilepsy and dementia, not the impact of sports performance or daily life. Yes.
Right, or general health, yeah.
Yeah, and in case anybody wants to know, I mean, the ketogenic diet was coined in 1921. So it's been around for a little bit. Did you guys know that the first diet book in the world, 1863, the Banting diet,
that was the first diet book in the world?
The first worldwide diet. It was a worldwide phenomenon.
Okay.
It sold all over the world. was a ketogenic diet book. It was the
Yeah.
first Atkins, basically. 100 years
It was,
before
wasn't
Atkins.
it named after the guy? That's what
Banting.
Banting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Banting, his name, the book, the Banting diet, became a verb.
Yeah, Banting.
Are you banting? Mm-hmm. Basically, are you low carb dieting? Banting basically meant dieting. Yeah.
Okay.
Craziness. Do you got any other questions?
I don't remember the question, but I want to answer it about, do I coach pole dancers?
I don't see it in here now.
It was
though.
in there. Maybe she took it down.
Oh, yeah. And she also
Yeah.
asked about your hair products.
Oh. Well,
total not our normal content, but
I'm
do you
still-
coach pole dancing?
okay. Pole
There's
dancing.
only one pole you dance on.
No, she was asking, do I coach pole dancers? Do I still pole dance? So, for those who don't know,
She does.
my history was
At home.
that before I started bodybuilding, I started pole dancing just for fun and for fitness. And it built my upper body. It gave me abs for the first time in my life. And so it was like my entrance into fitness.
And you were an instructor for a little bit until you broke your
I
arm.
did. I broke my thumb.
Or your thumb, that's it.
And then I had to exit the studio. But then I went back like a year later, and it was really difficult to build back up my strength. But yeah, I used to teach. I used to perform. I judged, actually. It was pole sport. PSO, pole sport organization. They do competitions, and I judged one way back in the day. So I don't anymore. I did recently find a studio near us. I took a silks class, which I loved, but man, that is much more difficult. So I had been planning on going back and taking some pole classes again because I miss it. I used to love it. And ironically, that you should ask about, do I coach dancers? One of our members in the academy, who actually works one-on-one with my assistant coach, just did her first competition. Is prepping for her second competition in like another week. I think she's entering peak week this week. And she does pole dancing recreationally. I think she taught or teaches as well. And so yes, the answer is yes. If I coach all kinds of women, all different ages, all different levels of athleticism. If you are a sports, you're into a sport, and I've got obstacle course racers, I've got CrossFitters, I've got runners, climbers, I've had hikers,
brand new bodybuilders.
Yeah. So yeah, because I think she was mentioning how to get, how to kind of basically shape your body, because this is what bodybuilding is. Bodybuilding is about creating the aesthetic look that we want. So you train in a particular way to build that look. I will say, when I first started bodybuilding and I entered my first competition, I had to stop pole dancing for a while because I had to be very strategic about the training I was doing. I had to stop taking classes because I was taking weight training classes that were not, once again, the type of training that I needed to be doing. It was more of a functional fitness type classes that I was taking, and I enjoyed them. And I remember asking my trainer at the time, well, why can't I just take that class as my cardio? And they were like, no, you've got to do your training and then you've got to do your cardio separately.
Right.
So yes, you can come in and we can help you with, into the academy is what I mean. And we can help tailor your training, teach you how to tailor your training so that you can still do the things you love while creating the body that you want, the aesthetics that you like. So yes, the answer is yes to that.
She created the body that I want.
I did. And dancing, not pole dancing, actually, my legs were built through ballet and modern and studio dancing for many years.
Somebody's interested in our challenge.
Yes, Bella Tat. That was Diane, I believe.
Okay.
So thanks for that. Yes, anybody else interested in our challenge, let us know. New Year challenge, 12 weeks. And then hair care products. I'm still trying to find my ideal products, because a while back now, maybe a couple of years ago, I decided to get off the phthalates and parabens and all the
Yeah.
crap, endocrine disruptors in our products. And so I've been trying, a few different brands from cleaner companies, and some I haven't liked. And I still haven't really settled on one that I really love. So sorry, but I have no recommendations right now.
Ask me about my hair, what products I use for my hair.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Sad. Nobody cares about my hair.
I care about it. I like the
Ooh, that
scrub.
feels good.
See, I don't even.
Can I purr?
We don't need to buy a cat. We don't need to get a cat.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining. I have no idea what we're talking. Oh, are you even here next week?
Yes, I am. I don't leave till Tuesday.
Till Tuesday. Okay. All right.
So we'll see y'all next week.
Yep. See you
Maybe
next
we
week.
can do a little holiday week chat.
Pre-Thanksgiving. Yeah, maybe we talk about practical ways to avoid how to stay on track over the holidays.
Yes. How to deal with the stress of your family.
It's only stress if you think of it as stress.
That sums up the whole conversation right there.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that. So next week we'll talk about how to deal with the holidays and stay on track. And then we'll see you guys next week. Oh, Sherry Morgan, message us. You're the winner today. Keto Brains.
Yay!